Ciao loves, welcome to Drawing Down the Stars, and this is Gemma with your August 23rd new moon reading. This new moon begins lunation number 1270, and it starts the 7th lunar month, in Latin known as septum. This lunar month is going to be quite impactful because it does hold a total lunar eclipse, on the full moon on September 7th. So this lunar month will bring in a total lunar eclipse. And I will touch on that because this moon, again, when we're following a lunar month, it means the theme plays out through the entire phase of the lunar cycle. So what will come into fruition, I'll touch on that. But the theme of this month is essentially the spiritual reformation of ego, the awakening of a deeper spiritual truth that roots you into source, your ancestry, kind of your dharmic, your bindu, that core. It is going to call upon self-sovereignty. It's going to call upon authority that plays out in numerous facets and that we're kind of already seeing play out within our collective consciousness. And also, and for me, I think one of the most impactful ways that this theme of sovereignty and authority and the reformation of ego is going to work through the shifting of the lower mind with higher wisdom and integrating through the emotional body. Essentially, there's going to be a big push and pull between spirit and matter based off of the planets that are contributing, as well as an awakening or a revelation between what we call veils of separation, or the illusion of what separates in order for spirit to come into matter. Okay, so let's dive in. First and foremost, the sun and moon will meet in the lunar mansion of Magha. Now, this is Vedic astrology and it is in Leo. There are a few other planetary aspects that will be contributing to this. One, Mercury went back direct, but is in its own lunar mansion of Ashlesha, which is in Cancer. And then Jupiter and Venus are conjunct in the same lunar mansion, Purnavasu, which is Jupiter's lunar mansion, but they are in separate signs. Jupiter in Gemini, Venus in Cancer, and of course, we have a conjunction with South Node K2, which is currently in Leo, getting a nice reflection from Saturn, heavily driving spirituality and this karmic reformation, awakening, purpose play that's occurring. So let's just go right in. As I mentioned, the material and spiritual are having a push and pull. This is going to shift the stance of the ego. It's a key part of the reformation of ego, but it's a key aspect because the self will be reformed through karma and desire. And that's primarily how spiritual and material are coming through. That means that for a lot of us, we will become more witness and observant of the allocation of our energy, what we call prana and life force. As I mentioned in last month's reading, this is an inward drawing energy. And even though we are in Leo, which is the emblem of the sun, the sign of the sun, emblematic of the grand leader, this outward exemplifying energy, energy seems to be in a contraction nature in order to be emanating. So it is not so much of an external emanation from the material aspect, but more prominent is a spiritual emanation from the root, the source, and alignment. This month is going to ask that we practice tejas, which is in yogic terms means sacrificial fire. It means burning. It's the inner fire, as I mentioned. And this sacrificial fire is going to work into multiple ways. It's going to ask that we take the actions, do the duty, that dharma. It's going to ask that we burn the unnecessary so life can flow in alignment with what is principle. There's also an aspect within this month where inherent skills or set of skills, karmically endowed skills, are going to unfold. They're also going to be molded. For many of you, these karmically skills are going to play out in a few ways. And part of it is that interplay between Jupiter as well as Mercury. But the karmically endowed skills is you might be coming into knowledge that you can't get enough of. It's like insatiable knowledge. Some of you might be awakening a new skill set, seeking higher learning. But for a lot of us, it is the esoteric becoming exoteric. So the spiritual, the metaphysical, the unseen deep knowledge, both within us individually as well as collectively, starts to take that materialization. We begin to see through the eyes of spirit. We begin to see a set of limitless ability. And for some of you, just to touch on, this new moon is going to shift your position of where you are in the world or how you maneuver in the world. And then your skill set will be revealed. Like what you didn't know you were capable of is now becoming, oh, I've got this authority, this sovereignty. And for some of you, it is latent knowledge, whether it is past life or just forgotten in this realm, that is now becoming awakened. So that's going to contribute to this new molding of self. This month is about uniting with cause. Because it's in Maga, which represents ancestral roots or the higher guidance, we begin to work the lower mind with the higher wisdom with the help of Jupiter and the emotional body. This integration allows a healthy flow of personality to be integrated. So a well-integrated emotional body with higher wisdom allows a strong sense of security within self. It allows a personality that isn't used solely to project ego, but a personality that is rooted as a limitless skill set and a quality and characteristic endowed from divine that has come into form. So when I say that, I mean that your lower mind, the way you see and position the ego with a higher wisdom of what directs you and how you feel and maneuver and experience life, are all going to be integrated into a new sense of self. This is going to move us with this Maga position back into purpose, of course, because this position rules primarily in Dharma, but more so than purpose, it's about moving with source. It's about understanding what the root cause is. So for some, it's going to be getting a better view of like, why do I want this? How am I maneuvering? Why am I moving this way? What is the root cause of things? And if we think about that, it's going to allow direction, because new directive, there's going to be a major shakeup on the full moon, but it's going to bring clarity. The directive is a single pointed focus. Purpose is alignment with an objective. All of these are a single source. And when we are in a single source stance, everything else becomes clear. Everything else emerges from that. Is that not the laws of our universe where one begins to multiply? So this month is going to bring that theme really heavily, not only to self-sovereignty, but also rooted into your root. This month will go about bringing in new directions. So the self will begin to operate in a new way. And in order for self to operate in a new way, it's going to call upon a re-embodiment, a regeneration of how you embody spirit. And what that looks like is it's going to change our relationship with our domain. Self-sovereignty, if you imagine, if you are sovereign, you own your domain, you own your environment. Ego is very much predicated on how it sees itself and the ideation of itself within the environment that it receives through those eyes. So this resurrection, or excuse me, this regeneration of sense of self is going to have a direct correlation to how you own your domain. And that's going to work into multiple facets. First facet is you're going to recognize and see what in this external world rules over me. Is it a habit? Is it an attachment? Is it an old ideology? Is it a belief system? Is it a false sense of authoritarian structure that I've placed over myself? Or is it a false timeline? All of those things are going to allow you to shift the authority of how you direct your life force. So this ruling of your domain is going to see what rules over me and draw your energy back. Because I mentioned this is an inward and not an outward, it will give you a purview of like, oh, I'm giving my resources here, I'm giving my resources there, I'm giving my attention here, I'm spreading my prana life force energy there to establish spirit into matter, or to establish that which I seek, to emanate myself, to project myself, it's different. In this regard, it's going to be, what am I taking in that is utilizing my life force, prana, resources? What is my relationship with it? What is my emotional bond? What is my processing with it? What is my attachment to it? It's going to allow you to check all of the things that are filtering into your domain and reclaim your energy, your attention, your pranic life force, and how that is distributed. This is going to be a fundamental way of self-sovereignty being reestablished within this month. Because the moment that we shift what we draw in, we are going to change our state resonance. I mentioned this last month. This takes a different form. What that means is essentially, if you are, the lower mind is identified within the I am body. This is called Anamaya Kosha, or the vessel of experience, the sheath essentially of the subtle body. That it is that I am associated with just myself, I am my body, my mind, my thoughts. That lower consciousness shifts versus a level of consciousness that moves into the energy flow, the qualitative state. How does this make me feel? Is this a good use of my energy? My life force, the qualitative characteristics, it shifts your stance of consciousness and state of existence. The state of existence will no longer reside, is fighting against the current state of established I self. And so this redirection, by taking command over your domain and the energy, the redirection of your prana will shift the consciousness into a greater sense of inner development. It will then awaken inner wisdom, an embodiment of self-sovereignty. This embodiment of self-sovereignty moves us into a sense of source, where we are less tethered to the karmic pulls of desire. And that is really what a heavy pull in this month is going to rework, is our relationship with desire and how it creates a karmic wheel. That which we used to desire, that which we gave our life force to because we felt it would establish us in this certain way. That which was within a previous desire that put us in a karmic cycle. Comfort, holding on to attachment, pleasure, all of those things are working in this month to where there is a less reliance on pleasure. There's a less reliance on desire as being the impetus of how you move, comfort as being the reason of why you are establishing or how you are feeling. There is becoming a more of a spiritualization to where you are in acceptance of all that is. And that unification of seeing spirit in all aspects of matter, in all expressions, in everyone, in every moment, and everything. And I'll come back to this when I talk about the veils that are going to be lifted. So this push and pull with desire, creating the karmic wheel, becomes undone. Before, we were getting a purview, and we are still continuing to see how karma is collectively uniting us. We're seeing a lot of repetition of past consciousness, especially within the collective. But right now it's an undoing of karma by cutting the tie of desire, of cutting the limitation of being bound to the pleasure pain wheel. Now we kind of evolved from last month, and we move closer into that spiritual focus, where we begin to move into this reformation of self through a regeneration. So this drawing inward, this assessment, the taking command of your domain, the reallocation and alignment to your root and how you distribute your pranic life force, what then begins to happen is it allows a new form, a new stance, a stronger stance to emerge. And this is where we work into a higher level of recognition of the self, which essentially is the theme of Leo, right? To be in the heart, to lead from the heart, to emanate from within. Now, when we come from that stance, what's going to be revealed this month is the illusions of separation, or the veils. In tantric cosmology, this is called a kanchuka. It's how, from a very high level, divine moves into the separation, and how Shiva and Shakti, consciousness and energy, move into delineations or veils so man can be ideated and experience. And what works this month, the veils that we are piercing through, is limited knowledge and desire. And I want to say time. Now, there are 5 veils. I won't get into it, but I kind of touched on skills. And I've talked about wisdom. This is where limited knowledge comes in. This month is going to allow us, once we embody ourselves, allow us to tap into a higher, deeper, hidden knowledge that lives within us. I encourage you to do learning, pursue your curiosity. It's an amazing month for that. But what it will do is allow us to tap into ways that we thought we were limited, either in our skill set, and this will come more into fruition by the full moon, but how we thought we were limited in what we understood, what we knew. That veil is the truth is being revealed collectively and individually. So this limitation of knowledge, in a way it's placed, it's that we can't see everything. And so we have to operate within that which we know, or that which that becomes ideated. When that is lifted, there is a natural unity. So this limitation within knowledge base is lifting, shifting. It allows the sense of self and ego to be dissolved. And then desire. Desire is then one of the number one impetuses of setting forth karma. And desire in this position within this new moon is going to teach us that that which we desire is already within us. The movement inward, thinking that what you desire is outside of you, or in order for you to reach a certain state of comfort, of pleasure, of whatever you seek, that which you desire is in an external form that isn't already self-realized. That veil is going to be lifted, and so the bonds of desire are going to break. And when these bonds of desire begin to break, you move naturally into this K2 South Node pole of the desire of spiritual, the desire of the infinite, the desire of the eternal, and not a fluctuating state. And lastly, the veil that is being heavily pierced is time. For those of you that have a heavy Piscean influence or Cancer influence, this is going to be really strong for you. And time is going to play out in a few ways. One, for the Piscean, Cancerian, heavy influenced people, your time, you will see through the veils of time completely. It'll seem like non-existent, almost like something is coming manifestation when you just thought of it, or the past and future, the lines are blurred. But for the majority of us, time is going to play out as the future going backwards. And that's really how it operates metaphysically. But we're going to see it more profoundly. And this is what I mean, is the future is not in front of us, and the past is not behind us. We're not in a linear stance. Everything is occurring in a single moment right now. I spoke about last month about multiple universes occurring simultaneously. Well, here it is. The future is going backwards. It's essentially what you have here currently in your present is already, your future has already happened. So this stance of desire or something outside of you for attainment positions the future in front of you. I got to do this in order to get that. The give and take that was revealed last month is gone. It's about being in this stance now. I'm doing it now because this is where I am, the embodiment of my sovereignty, of here, my skill set, my knowledge, the seed, my dharma, my soul, all laid within me in this single point exists now. The future has already happened. A lot of you will also place a higher precedence on your time as a resource. I mentioned prana, the allocation of your life force energy. That is also time, attention, what you give your energy, emotion to. All of those things will become clear. What am I giving my time to? That will become more precious. We will see time less as a restriction, time as less of a separation between self and divine, matter and spirit, spirit into materialization, and more as time as an interplay, an illusion of where self is held within space, of where how I hold myself within what I know. Now, once this veil begins to continue to unshift, sovereignty again will become more prominent, and it will move into full consciousness, well, more prevalent consciousness in the full moon. And we will be really working with authoritarian structures, breaking down. You're going to get a greater authority in your own life, taking authority of your life, moving from the source within you, this authoritarian position. And this is how the recreation of ego will work out, because the old self, the old ideation, the old relation, the old allocation and of how you distribute your energy and what you took in to feed the idea of ego is being dissolved to emerge that ego is just a projection of a set qualities within a space-time. It allows us to detach, and that's what this month is going to teach us. Is the more that we detach, the more that we've already realized we've attained it all. The practical application is going to be influenced by Saturn. So for those of you that are practicing esoteric knowledge or diving in, for those of you that are seeking to shift your life, for those of you, all of us, that are waking up into a new sense of self, our truth, our position, our direction, the source self, the soul self, practical application must be applied of that deeper wisdom. Whatever you learn, whatever is being revealed, take the esoteric and move it into the exoteric, spirit into matter. This is going to further drive down the externalization of your domain, the externalization of that source self, the externalization of what is emanating from within. It's going to bring greater alignment. So do the meditation, do the run, do the journaling, whatever it is, go to sleep earlier, take command. Tejas, the sacrificial fire, is discipline. Close your gates to that which is not feeding you. Bottle up your resource of life force, prana, and then you will ascend the mind into a higher state of consciousness, seeing and being. Your stance of consciousness will evolve. This is the awakening from your actions. And when we come into the full moon, Mars is going to ask that you then start building those blocks. Right now, Mars is working into gathering and generating, cultivating those bricks, seeing that you have the knowledge, seeing that time isn't a limitation, seeing your authoritarian nature, taking sovereignty of your domain, and then building by the new moon. Lastly, Jupiter and Venus. Venus is the teacher of our demons. Jupiter and Venus are the great beneficents, and they are going to work wealth from within. And I mentioned in the beginning, and I'm going to wrap it up because we're kind of getting on a bit long, but I mentioned that Venus was going to work with that desire play. Well, it's like what we used to desire, now we have greater insight to. Or, oh, I remember how this is what I once wanted. Or I remember this once used to bring me pleasure, now falls flat. Essentially, you get a greater wisdom into how you use life, how pleasure and pain works. You're no longer attached to the karmic tether of desire, and more seeing on how you can tame certain things. Lastly, more things are going to be revealed. The demons are going to be unveiled. There is this unrevealing of the hidden that's coming out. People that are being chasing only pleasure and what they want, and this seek, hold, attach, greed, kind of those mechanisms are going to be revealed. But in this play, Jupiter and Venus work together to reveal the wealth and blessings from the internal flow. Once you are in the stance of sovereignty and authority, the flow of wealth comes from within and spills outward. The Leo emblematic heart is golden inside out, not inside dependent on outside. It is how prana is going to shift your life force. So let me rephrase this, the deep hidden wisdom that Jupiter is going to reveal, and that Venus is going to shift your desire, and the interplay of desire and karma and wisdom, and how these come into blessings are going to come from the stream from within. This is going to be into revelations, blessings, redirection of your energy is going to give you new opportunities. Redirection of how you hold yourself is going to position you in a different stance. Claiming things and not being a tether or a slave to the desire wheel is going to give you a position of authority and allow you to be the guru, Jupiter, to stand in a stance of inner wisdom. And that alone is going to direct energy beyond time. It means that you have arrived. It is the unifying of spirit in matter here and now. Last, I know I keep saying last, but this is really the last thing. Fulfillment of Dharma requires overcoming obstacles. This is why the ego will go through an evolutionary process. There is a great detachment that is occurring from the worldly within the individual. There is a great detachment from the material back into the spiritual. And the spiritual asks you to see that divine is in everything. And in order to shift your perspective, you must shift where you stand and what you stand in, what you stand for. Stand within your soul self. Gain your authority, your sovereignty. The root of creation will begin to shift from your central point, your bindu, and you will start to see everything else, the ego and all these things becoming recreated within your life. All right, my loves, that's it. Happy new moon, happy 7th month, and we are going to move into quite a shakeup, but don't worry, all things will illuminate a brighter future. Ciao a tutti.